Four's up, Bruins fans. Mick Cronin now has 4 transfers committed to come to UCLA. And how many of them have potential to be immediate, impactful players to replace a Jamar and the positions they need on the wing? All that and more on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support to your team every day. Every day. And in this transfer portal era, in this season of new commits, departures, new players coming in, Mick Cronin now has a total of 4 commits, 3 in one day. I talked about one of them, Jamar Brown, coming from the Kansas City Roos, UMKC, from JUCO to the Summit League, now to Big Ten ball. He's a guy that's looking like a replacement for the Kobe Johnson, Stefanovic graduations. Okay, so I already talked about a little bit about Jamar Brown. What UCLA is leaning on is the potential. Cronin's big quote after the season was talent over continuity. Well, the hope was that a Jamar would be both the talent and the continuity. Well, after all those talks broke down, after he went to Spain and came back with new demands rumored, or whether it broke down with Cronin, any of those things, he is not coming back to UCLA. And we'll see where that plays out. But that meant UCLA, with William Kyle III also transferring out, in addition to Devin Williams, had a massive need for players in the post. So Cronin goes out and gets a couple. And I'm not going to lie. Can I come out here and say they're 5-star guys? One of them was, but hasn't been so in 2 years in Michigan State. That's Xavier Booker. And then you've got Steven Jamerson II under former Bruin coach Steve Lavin coaching down there at San Diego with the Toreros. So you've got 2 bigs. Are they athletic? Are they 7 feet? Yes and no. You've got Steven Jamerson II, a senior who will be hailing from Crespi Carmelite, his prep days, coming from the local LA area, playing down in San Diego the last couple of seasons. 26 games, 24 starts in the 23-24 season. And this last year, shot 55% from the floor, averaged 10 points and almost 8 rebounds a game in Jamerson II. This is a guy that will most likely come off the bench. I can't exactly go extremely hyped. I love to be pretty high on guys, but this is somebody who is most likely going to fill a secondary role, maybe a starting role, maybe a bigger role than I could expect. But Jamerson is the guy that he could be that steady force, all right? He's that type of player who will come to UCLA and he fills a role, and hopefully that's what he understands coming to the Bruins. Those numbers might take a decline a little bit. The 10 points, almost 8 rebounds a game, that could dip a little bit, but he's 6'10", 210 pounds, center. UCLA needed that size. Bigger than William Kyle III. Can't say he's more athletic necessarily in this initial assessment, but here he is coming to UCLA. Okay. Now, the other one, the more unique transfer out of any of these guys, right? That's coming from Jamerson II. You got Brown coming over from UMKC, and then Xavier Booker, 6'11", about to be a junior, hailing from Indianapolis, formerly the number 1 player in the state of Indiana coming out of high school, a top 10, top 11 recruit in the country, 5-star, and it didn't pan out for this kid. By the time his season starts at UCLA, he'll be a 21-year-old kid in his junior season, all right? And I've got to applaud him because I looked at his bio at Michigan State. Says his favorite movie is Back to the Future. That's one of my favorite movies. So already he's one of my favorites. But let's get down to business. This is a guy I was talking to, a Spartan source, if you will. And he talked about how this kid, 6'11", fell in love with shooting the three-point ball. All right, this is a guy who I think, quote, was used as a 6'11 guy, plays more like a 6'3 guy, because he took 73 threes. He has 140 shots. 73 of those were from the three-point line. So this is a guy that's got a lot to work with, just under 5 points per game, under 2 rebounds per game, possesses a lot of potential, but it didn't work a lot with Michigan State. Minimal minutes in the tournament, minimal minutes late in the season for the Spartans, all right? We're talking single-digit minutes in the month of March against Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Oregon, Wisconsin, and then Bryant, all right? And this is with a Michigan State team that went on a run, and he didn't play a game after that Bryant game where he only played 3 minutes. However, the potential is tantalizing. Does he have that right now? I'm not so sure. I think the quote I was given by Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans was, he goes from a guy that talks about defense. Here's the quote. He goes from one coach in Tom Izzo to a guy who's just a Tom Izzo who's 15 years younger, all right, in Mick Cronin. A guy who demands defensive intensity, demands defensive integrity, and needs effort on all parts of the floor. Now, there hasn't exactly been anything bad about this kid, but the big thing is, I was getting some insight, and this kid can get burned from backdoor cuts, isn't necessarily the best on defense, so he's going to have to improve, which makes this what could be an interesting fit. I was reading LA Times with Ben Bolch talked about this from my Spartan source. It's interesting how this is the place he went to go after going from Tom Izzo, where it didn't click, that he moves to Mick Cronin, a similarly intense defensive coach. And he has not possessed that where he fits his assignments just yet. Now, if he can learn to use his size and get close to the rim, a guy that's got a smooth stroke from three, but it doesn't showcase that in the percentages, doesn't showcase that in the actual makes. Can he get closer? Can Cronin work with him? He goes from one tough coach to the other. Does that mean he's ready to work, go even harder, needs a change of scenery? Or is this another one of those guys that big name, big high school, a lot of stars, and then it didn't pan out? And sometimes it happens with kids. I'm not sure if that's going to be Booker's case, but this is a guy coming in who's got a lot to prove, an edge, a chip on his shoulder. And UCLA needs him to perform because they have nothing in the center department. You're either looking at Tyler Bilodeau, you can go with Steven Jamerson II, or Xavier Booker. And Booker looks more like a stretch 4 in the 6'11" body with the way he's played so far in his Michigan State career versus what his potential can be. A top 10 5-star recruit that was heavily coveted by Tom Izzo coming out of high school. Now, it is interesting how quickly things have moved. It went from a Jamar to UCLA to he's shifting out, and then all these things come out Tuesday morning. Next thing you know, a couple of days later, UCLA gets a wing, and they get 2 centers. So maybe the potential of working with Donovan Dent, keeping and working with Booker closer to the rim, maybe getting him in better shooting pockets in the corner from 3. You bring in Jamerson, who can bring in a high energy, intense, reserve type act, and then UCLA can have some good moments. But under no circumstances is this a team that is going to run through the post like it would have if it had a Diamata. Or even a little bit more, not more so, but in a different way with William Kyle III if he did stay at UCLA. It is a team that is going to play like Mick Cronin's Final Four team, where it started with Cody Riley in the center position as a 6'9" guy. Even Dembona was a little undersized, but uber athletic in the center position. And Cronin, how he likes to play undersized centers. The big problem is Tyler Bilodeau just cannot play as the 5 for a full 40 minutes. He needs to play as the 4, which means Daly has to shift to a 3 or play a small ball 5, or Cronin's just going to run small if Booker and Jamerson don't pan out. These are interesting pickups. Obviously, you need to fill up spots, you need to get commitments, be paying some NIL deals quickly, because as I said before, there's already a lot of big guys out of the portal. There's already guys committed elsewhere, signing those NIL deals. From Vasar to North Carolina, to Davidson going to Clemson, the list goes on and on. Cronin has his idea, has his ideal center, has his ideal type of player that plays for him. And if somebody's leaving Michigan State, I'd like to think that, hey, if he can commit to Tom Izzo and wants to play for Mick Cronin, he can handle some tough coaching. Doesn't mean he'll be successful, but Booker is, there's so much potential. He's got 2 years of eligibility. I would hope it could turn into something special. And if it does, UCLA's season next year will be transformational. I just can't come out and say that right here, right now, with what I've read, what I've been told, and what the numbers say. Jamerson looks like he'll be an interesting, fun Bruin to root for, and hopefully, and I think he's got an interesting backstory too. We won't exactly go into that as well, but he's played 3 years at San Diego, and we'll touch in future podcasts about his previous days prior to San Diego. Then you mix in a JUCO turned Summit League all first teamer to now a UCLA Bruin in the Big Ten. And it's like, what? Oh, you got 3 guys coming in one day. I was like, wait, what happened right now? They got no players on the roster. Now they just got like 10. And a reminder, there's going to be 15 scholarships available. So after last season, where it felt like who's going to play and how will they dice up the minutes, Mick Cronin's rotation will be much smaller. It'll be different. He'll know how to travel to the Big Ten, how to utilize these guys, but the rotation will be much tighter, much smaller, and I think Cronin likes that. As deep as it was last year, as much as he teased a full court press, teased the ability to tire teams out, UCLA under Mick Cronin needs an intense effort for 30 to 35 minutes with guys he can trust. Donovan Dent, turning into a Tiger Campbell, maybe even a better shooter. A guy like Trent Perry or Sky Clark playing bulk minutes, one of them coming off the bench. Eric Daly Jr., Tyler Bilodeau playing more minutes in the 3 as the 4 versus them playing as small ball power forwards and small ball centers. You mix in a couple of these guys at the center position, and then UCLA can be a little more respectable. Not as preseason hyped as they would have been with a Jamar. John Rothstein saying if they brought all these guys back, they'd be a preseason top 5. Now, you're probably a top 20 preseason team, and they would have to work for it. Probably similar expectations as last year's team coming into the season. A lot less new faces, but still a lot of roles to design, to fill, and players who need to improve, whether it's from their previous stop, from last year's team, or from, as a youngster, maybe Trent Perry in his experience, to blossoming as a sophomore. Xavier Booker, Steven Jamerson II, and then, hey, UCLA lands Jamar Brown. 3 guys committing in one day, answering some questions. Maybe another guy coming in the portal. Hint, hint. We'll see what happens. But if not, UCLA has put in some work, and Cronin, in the blink of an eye, got some commitments. We'll see how it plays out here on future Locked On UCLA episodes. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO that gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So just stop managing your money and start building wealth. All in one convenience. So instead of just juggling the multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. It's going to do it. Mick Cronin has done his work in the portal. See a lot of guys leave, 6 of them, 4 coming in, some big name guys, some big dollars being spent. And the rest, we'll see if they're short-term rentals, if they blossom in new places, or if Cronin and the Bruins are really going to get hurt because the Jamar did not come back to UCLA. All that and more in future Locked On UCLA episodes. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. Can't wait for more episodes. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.